Hi, I'm going to explain the concept of representative elementary volume, or REV, as well as the particle size distribution of porous media, how to measure it, how to represent it, and so on. Okay, this is a part of chapter 2 of our course on groundwater hydrology. Let's start with representative elementary volume, or REV. REV is the smallest volume for which a property has physical significance. Okay, so what does it mean? It means when you want to measure quantity, the size of the sample that you use to measure the quantity should be large enough to represent the entire domain, okay? And REV is the smallest size that is enough to represent the entire volume. Okay, let's look at this example. Here you have a pack of grains, let's say sand grains. Dark brown are the grains. The dark brown is the grains here, and the light brown is the porous space. If you wanted to calculate the porosity of this sample, if you use this small square here as the sample size, if you place it here, you see you get a very small value for porosity because most part of this square is now covered by the solid phase. So if you plot the porosity here versus the size of the sample, this porosity will be somewhere here. Okay, that is the size, that is the porosity. So now if you place the same square here, okay, the same size here, you will see you get a higher value for the porosity because, as you can see in this small square, a higher fraction of the space is filled or is covered by the porous space, that is the light brown. So you get a higher value, let's say somewhere here, for the porosity. Okay, so in other words, this sample size is not large enough to represent the entire domain. So that means you need to work with a bigger sample size. Okay, so now let's consider this one. If you place this square here, you see you have a little bit higher porosity compared to the previous case. So therefore you will have a porosity somewhere, I don't know, let's say here, right? And now if you place the same square somewhere in another place, let's say here, on another place, let's say here, right? You see the porosity is higher compared to the previous case because a higher fraction of the space here is covered by the porous space. So you will get a higher value for the porosity. In other words, this sample size is not large enough to represent the entire volume because depending on where you place this sample size, you get a different value for the porosity. Okay, so now let's work with this large sample size, that is this big square. Let me delete the other ones here. Okay, so now, if you place it here, you calculate your porosity value, but now if you place it somewhere else, let's say here or here, right, you are getting roughly similar value for the porosity. In other words, it seems this sample size, this size, is large enough to represent the entire domain. Okay, so therefore here the value of the porosity basically fluctuates around a constant value. Okay, and the smallest size that is large enough to represent the entire domain for the porosity is basically REV scale, okay, or representative elementary volume. Okay, and which is determined here by this dashed red line. Okay, so that is the concept of REV. So now let's look into the particle size distribution. It is important to have a clear understanding of the particle size distribution of the porous media because particle size distribution influences pore geometry, influences particle size distribution and shape as well. It influences pore geometry, influences storage capacity, pore size distribution, porosity, solid surface area, and all these parameters. Okay, and these are important parameters because these then affect the subsequent processes basically occurring in porous media, such as water transport, such as contaminant transport, and in general transport phenomena and so on. Okay, so it's important to have a clear understanding about the particle size distribution and shapes. Okay, here I show an example of fine textured sandy media, the red one, and the coarse textured sandy media, the blue one. This is actually the output of our own research, which was published in 2018 in Scientific Reports, where we we're looking to how the particle size distribution influences ion transport in porous material, particle size distribution and and pore size distribution and so on. Okay, so there are several methods to measure particle size distribution. I just mentioned here a few of them. That is sieving methods, that is sedimentation methods, or more or modern imaging methods. For example, here I show an example where you can see the arrangement and shape, and as well you can measure the particle size of a sand pack. This is again our own research result. I believe this was measured by synchrotron X-ray tomography, and the experiment was conducted in Swiss Light Source in Switzerland. The work was published in Physical Review E in 2010. Yeah, there are several methods to measure particle size distribution, but discussing each method is beyond the scope of this course, and it's not that relevant here. But just as an example, I talk about the sedimentation method, okay, and how it works. Okay, so sedimentation method. Let me move this one first. Sedimentation method, okay? So normally for particles less than 50 microns, sedimentation method based on Stokes law are used to deduce particle size distribution, okay? So basically the idea is particles settle in solution attaining terminal velocity proportional to their mass and size. Okay, basically you can run this experiment yourself if you get some soil and drop it in a glass of water. You see particle with larger size, they settle faster than particle with a smaller size. Next slide, you will see why that happens. And basically the amount of the suspended particles after a given settling time is used to determine particle size fraction. Okay, so how it works? In fact, if you consider one single droplet, okay, if you consider one single droplet that is settling in a solution, there are three forces acting simultaneously on this particle. One is the downward gravity, represented by Fg, downward. And then you will have upward buoyancy forces, that is Fb, and upward drag forces, that is Fd. Okay, and note that the particle here is spherical with a diameter d. Okay, at the steady state condition, the forces acting on the vertical direction, they balance each other, so the summation should be equal to 0. That means the downward Fg minus upward Fb minus upward Fd is equal to 0. Okay, so for Fg, we know that is equal to mg, that is the mass of particles times g, and the mass of particle from physics, we know that is equal to density times volume. So density rho s, density of the particle, times volume of the particle, that is 4 pi r with the power of 3 divided by 3. Okay, that will give you the rho, that is the density times volume times g, which will be Fg. Okay, so for the buoyancy forces, that will be equal to weight of the displaced fluid. Okay, weight of the displaced fluid, which will be equal to mass of the displaced fluid times g. Okay, g is here, and for the mass of the displaced fluid, we should write density of the fluid, that is rho w, times volume of the displaced fluid, and the volume of the displaced fluid is equal to the volume of the particle, which is 4 pi r with the power of 3 divided by 3. Okay, so that's the buoyancy forces. And for the drag forces, which is here, we use a Stokes law that it is equal to 6 times pi times r, that is the radius, times mu, viscosity, times Vt, which is the terminal velocity. Okay, here we don't derive these equations, you just buy it from me. But if you're interested, we can discuss about it, we can derive this equation. Okay, so here we are in the Stokes regime, so we assume it can be shown actually that the drag force is equal to 6 pi r mu Vt. So now you plot these three equations into this equation. Okay, and if you do that, you get this expression here. Okay, let me move it here, right? Okay, and then here you just need to rearrange this equation. It's a very simple algebra. You end up with Vt, that is the terminal velocity, is equal to rho s minus rho w times d squared times g divided by 18 times viscosity. Okay, and velocity is equal to h, that is the distance h, divided by time, that is the settling time. Okay, so therefore you can write t will be equal to 18 mu times h divided by this part, that is rho s minus rho w times d2 g. Okay, and here you can see that when the particles are larger, that is d is larger, therefore t is shorter. Okay, and then when the particle is smaller, therefore t, that is the settling time, is more. Okay. So depending on the size of, basically the size of the particle influences the settling time, and that's the way you calculate the particle size distribution. Okay, so let's solve an example here, that is, use a Stokes law to calculate the time needed for particles with diameter larger than 0.1 millimeter and particles with a diameter larger than 0.001 millimeter to settle out to a depth of 0.25 meter in water at 25 degree. And at 25 degree, we have the viscosity of water, that is 0.89 millipascal second. You have the particle density, that is 2,650 kilogram per cubic meter, that is given in the question, and the density of water, that is 1,000 kilogram per cubic meter. Okay, so here, when the question is the time needed for particles larger than 0.1 millimeter or 100 micron to settle down. So what I need to do is to calculate the time needed for particle with the average part with the particle size of 100 micron to settle. If I calculate that time, anything larger than that, right, they settle faster, right? So you just need to calculate the time needed for the particles with the diameter of 100 micron to settle. The same is valid for the part B. That is, you need to calculate the time for the particle with the diameter of 1 micron to settle, okay, or 0.001 millimeter to settle. Anything larger than that, they settle faster. Okay, so here this is a relatively easy question. You just simply need to write this equation. You already derived that equation, and then for the particle with the diameter of 100 micron, so you have 18, you have the viscosity here, you have the h, and then you have the rho s, you have the rho w, you have the g here, and then d square. Here you need to convert it to meter with the power of 2, and then you get 25 seconds. And you do exactly the same for part B. The only difference here is the particle size is 1 micron, okay? And then if you do the calculation, you get 49,485 seconds, which is roughly equal to 69 hours or 68.61 hours, okay? So you already see the kind of a limitation of this method, because when the, okay, it works quite okay when particle was 100 micron, it takes 25 seconds, you get the particle size, but when the particles are very small, let's say 1 micron, it takes 68 hours. So imagine if you are even dealing with sub-micron particle, right? Let's say 500 nanometer or 100 nanometer. So it will take much longer time to get the particle size. Basically, it is not practical anymore. So this is not useful when the particles are too small. Okay. So that was about the sedimentation method and an example about it. So in any case, no matter what method you use your particle size distribution, you need to find a way to present it, right? To present your particle size distribution. There are two common ways to present particle size distribution. One is called frequency distribution. The other one is cumulative distribution. Okay, they are mathematically related. The frequency distribution is the derivative of the cumulative distribution. Okay, so cumulative distribution is commonly presented by F, capital F, and the frequency distribution, which is the derivative of F, that is the F dx, is presented by lowercase f x. Okay, and the red curve here is the cumulative distribution, that is capital F, and the blue curve here, the red curve is cumulative distribution, and the blue curve is the frequency distribution. Okay, so the way you read this curve is that, for example, let's say 60%, okay, and then let's say particle size here is, I don't know, roughly, let's say 45 micron. You say that 60% of the particle, 60% of the particles have the diameter of 45 micron or less, okay? Or for example, 80% of the particle has the diameter of, let's say roughly here is, I don't know, let me draw this line again. Let's say it's roughly 50 microns, so you read it as 80% of the particle has the diameter of 50 micron or less. Okay, so this is the way you read the data from the cumulative distribution, and then for the frequency distribution, you read it as, let's say, I don't know, 1% of the particle has the diameter of, let's say this is about 25 micron, okay, or 2% of the particle has a diameter of, let's say this is roughly 30 micron, okay, 2% has the 30 micron, and so on. Okay, so that was about different ways of presenting particle size distribution. There's one example here, that is particle size analysis of a soil sample gives the mass distribution below. That is, for each size you have the weight of each size, right? Calculate and plot the frequency and cumulative particle size distribution. Okay, this is a relatively straightforward question. So that is basically here for size you have 10, 15, 20, 30 and so on till 100 micron. The weight is already given in the question. Okay, for frequency distribution, so you need to divide 15.5 by the summation of all the weight, and then you get 33. For the second one, you need to divide 47.21 by the summation of the entire weight, then you get 31. Or for the next one, 29.9 divided by the entire the summation, the cumulative mass, then you get 20%, and so on. Okay, so you have the frequency distribution. And for the cumulative distribution, so the first one is 33. The second one, it will be summation of these two, 33 plus 31, that is 64. The third one will be summation of these three, that will be 84. Or the fourth one will be the summation of these four. Okay, 20 plus 12, 32 plus 31 is 63 plus 33 will be 96, and so on. Okay, so that will be your cumulative distribution, and then you can plot them as well in an Excel file. So that is the frequency distribution versus size. You plot the curve, you have the size here, you have the frequency distribution, so this versus that, you can easily plot it. And for the cumulative distribution as well is the same story. You just plot the cumulative distribution versus the size. Okay, and yeah, that is pretty much it. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you.